Hello, good evening, and welcome to Eye on Port here on Metropolitan Television. Eye on Port is proudly brought to you by the Ghana Revenue Authority, Goyle PLC, Serene Insurance, Ghana Link Network Services, and Meridian Port Services (MPS). The show is proudly powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority-GPHA. Our media partner is the Business and Financial Times, the BNFT. Now, if you want to have a grasp of all that transpired in the show tonight, make a date and grab a Thursday edition of the BNFT, and you'll be able to see all that happened here tonight. We are streaming live on our social media pages. On Facebook, we are streaming live at Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Still on Facebook, we are live at Port of Tema. And on YouTube, we are streaming live at Eye on Port. Indeed, we shall be getting interactive with you. And so all you have to do is send us your messages and comments via our dedicated WhatsApp line, which is 0559 019 177. 0559 019 177. At the appropriate time, when I pick signals from the production team that the time is ripe, we shall activate the phone line for you to call in and contribute to the discussion. My name is Kennedy Mona. We are going for a quick break. On return, we'll continue with the show. Please do stay with us.
Every now and again, Goyle makes good things happen. This time, Goyle has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Goyle Super XP Ron 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Goyle Super XP Ron 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Goyle Super XP Ron 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with Goyle Super XP Ron 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goyle has that sorted. Goyle, good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifu, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water. Or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse. And my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance motor policy. Currently, my goods are on the high seas, covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance.
Oh, Ajima,
tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
You're welcome back. It's now time for us to take a look at happenings in the port and shipping industry in the course of the week. And indeed, in the course of the week, the Ghana's leading oil marketing company, Goyle PLC, had occasion to present a check for 200,000 Ghana cedis to the Apiachi Support Committee Fund, plus the fact that the Harbour Master for the Port of Tema, Captain Francis Kwesi-Micah, has indicated GPHA's commitment to efficient marine services. Let's take a look at these stories and more.
The Harbour Master at the Port of Tema, Captain Francis Kwesi-Micah, has averred that the creation of the Harbourcraft jetty at the MPS Terminal 3 is owed to the ambition of the Port Authority and its key partners to improve efficiency at the port. Speaking to Ion Port less than a month after the operationalization of the Harbourcraft jetty at Terminal 3, the Harbour Master explained the processes that led to the creation of the jetty.
We had a joint stakeholder meeting at the premises of MPS, and the subject matter was to do with the idle time for vessels departure that makes reference to the last box being loaded or discharged until the last line gets cast off from the jetty. In other words, until the vessel is said to have departed. And the time reference here was a bit on the higher side, and that made the terminal not very competitive. So it was as a way of trying to put our act together to see how we could counter that particular challenge that was facing. When it comes to the provision of marine services, it is the sole responsibility of GPHA Marine Department for that matter. And as it were, we had to help with the ideas, formulation of ideas, and then practical steps to take to ameliorate the situation. So we decided then to work on the dual concept of departures or handling of vessels movement, both for the inbound traffic and then the outbound traffic. And that will have required the need to have more logistics.
He revealed that the authority plans on procuring 2 new tugboats and train additional pilots to augment the port's capacity in the handling of vessels.
So we decided after, the after end of the discussion to see how best we could put up an argument to management to help the facilitation of the construction of the purchase or the procurement for that of 2 new tugs, because we had 5 tugs and the activities then did not put us in good standing to be able to do the dual concept that we're talking about. So fortunately, the requirement to have 2 tugs was acceded to, and the processes went on end. At our end, we had anticipated that actually, and we had, for matters of the numbers for pilots, had decided to bring in 2 batches of pilot trainees, and they were being trained. So we were talking about the additional tugs, additional pilots, and then the mooring men, but importantly, the facility to contain them.
Captain Micah explained that the decision to provide a Harbourcraft jetty and an accompanying office space all tie into the authority's vision to leave no gaps in the port supply chain. The Harbour Master averred that these initiatives align with the authority's objective of making the Port of Tema the leading container hub and beacon of trade in the sub-region. The Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority remains committed to the holistic development of interns and young personnel attached to work at the authority for any given period of time, and tailors its supervision and tutelage to fulfill that objective. This year, the authority has facilitated a career and self-development forum for the young national service women of the 2022-2023 batch to prepare them for life after national service. Under the theme Contemporary Woman Managing Societal Pressures, the young women were counseled and educated on life skills necessary to come out successful amid today's dynamics in the life and career of women. The event forms part of the authority's itinerary for the celebration of the International Women's Month. Key speakers at the event emphasized on the need for mentorship for young aspiring women.
As a young woman, when you are rising, I believe that you need mentorship. Mentorship is very key. You need to be mentored. You need to be ready to learn and be coached. But one thing you should always have in mind is that as a woman going far, as a woman who wants to go far with a huge vision, you need to do the extra thing. You need to work extra.
I always say that if our generation had gotten that much mentorship from the older generation, I'm sure most of us will be better than we are today. So I am excited to bring under my umbrella a lot of these young ladies. Some of them do not need anything. All they need is just direction. Just direct them. If it's blue, it's blue. If it's red, it's red.
The president of the Port Ladies Association and the corporate procurement manager, Philippa Amanda Ama, shared an advice to the youth.
In charting a career path or in the growing up process, there are things you will experience you've never experienced before, and those mistakes may occur, but it's important to forgive yourself, learn from the experience so that you can be better tomorrow.
The second speaker really touched my heart. I picked a keynote from what she said. She said, life is not a race. Life is not a race. So it means that whatever you do in this life, there's no need for you to rush. It's a step by step.
Ghana's leading oil marketing company, GOIL PLC, has responded to calls by governments to public-spirited organizations and individuals to lend support to the Apiate Support Fund. The company last week presented a check valued at 200,000 Ghana cedis to the fund. The amount is the company's token contribution to help alleviate the plight of the victims and the community in general. Kwame Osei-Prempeh is the group CEO and managing director of GOIL PLC.
So it's in support of the work being done to alleviate the suffering of the people of Apiate and to show people that everybody that God, we are always there to support every sector of Ghanaian economy wherever our support is needed.
Chairperson of the Apiate Support Fund Committee, Dr. Joyce Ayi, who received the check on behalf of the committee, said 62 million Ghana cedis has been raised so far. According to Dr. Joyce Ayi, the high cost of goods on the market, coupled with inflation, has increased the cost of rebuilding the community by the contractors. She said the support comes in handy and it will allow for the timely payment of the contractors to allow for the speedy completion of the reconstruction of the community.
Things are going well, and we're praying that by September, October, quite a number of the buildings will be available for use, yes. But we're very grateful to God, especially since their paying now is not a reflection of them not wanting to do so last year. They did write the check, but by sheer force of circumstances, the check got somewhere else. But it's good that it's coming now also, you know, which gives us a reason to ask other institutions that haven't done so already to do so, and even those who've done so but who can still do more to do so.
You're welcome back. Those were happenings in the port and shipping industry in the course of the week. It's now time for us to go on the international stage and find out what is happening there.
The European Parliament and Council have reached a deal on the increase of maritime transport's contribution to reaching the EU-wide target of achieving climate neutrality in 2050. On March 23, co-legislators agreed on Fuel EU Maritime, a new EU regulation ensuring that the greenhouse gas intensity of fuels used by the shipping sector will gradually decrease over time by 2% in 2025 to as much as 80% by 2050. The deal sets up a fuel standard for ships to steer the EU maritime sector towards the uptake of renewable and low-carbon fuels and decarbonization. Under the agreement, big ships will be required to gradually reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Assembly has begun on the first large cruise ship that is being built to be ready for methanol-fueled operations, with the placement of the keel block for Main Shift 7 into the dry dock at Meyer Turku in Finland. The cruise industry is among the shipping pioneers pursuing the emerging alternate fuel. The cruise ship is scheduled to be commissioned in 2024, with other firms including Norwegian Cruise Line, Disney Cruise, and Costa Cruises also moving forward with plans for future ships employing the new fuel.
All All right, so those were happenings on the international scene in the port and shipping industry. It's now time for us to take the word of the day, and the word of the day for this week is deadweight tonnage. Deadweight tonnage.
Deadweight tonnage is a measure of how much mass a vessel can carry. It does not include the weight of the vessel itself. Deadweight tonnage is the sum of the weights of cargo, fuel, fresh water, ballast water, provisions, passengers, and crew.
All right, so welcome back. We are now zooming into our discussion proper tonight, and tonight we're asking a very simple question. Is it feasible for us to have a national shipping line, like the Black Star Line, in times past? Now, there have been calls recently for the establishment of a national, shipping line. The Transport Forum, which is a think tank in the transport sector, that's a maritime and transport sector, recent time conducted a recent extensive, research, and they believe that it is very viable for us to have a national shipping line in this country. Remember, we also picked snippets of information recently about McDonald business mogul Dr. Daniel Macaulay coming up with a national shipping line. So we are examining the feasibility of this particular, dream of bringing back the Black Star Line or bringing back a national shipping line in Ghana. Now, before we introduce my guest, I would like to read this particular portion, this particular document, which was put together by one gentleman who has written extensively about, Ghana's Black Star Line, and then what he thinks that we should be doing at this moment, and how, the Black Star Line put Ghana on the world map, globally. Let me introduce Mr. Ephraim Asari, who is the Vice President at the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, SILT, Ghana, in charge of maritime. He's the Vice President in charge of maritime. And also in the studios with us is Mr. Jacob Ajiman, who is the convener of the Transport Forum, Ghana. Yes, thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming. We are grateful to you for obliging us this evening, and thank you. Would want to tap into your expertise and then see what the feasibility of this particular dream is. Now, this particular document is put together by Joe Efa Enchi, MILT. He is in Tema, and the topic is, or the headline for this one is Founding of Black Star Line, Ghana. I just will, call portions of it and then read it. This particular paragraph says, Ghana was a country that could brag of not less than 4 top 16,000-ton vessels provided by the then government of PNP that embarked upon regular sailing schedules traversing the globe in the late 70s. Vessels like Kita, Tano, Sicily, and of course Volta arguably epitomizes the originality of Ghanaian identity once in foreign jurisdictions, as well as the soul of the nation in those highly nostalgic times. Very, 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 very profound by Joel Enchi. Well, I think that I'll leave it here, but he says we could boast of 4 16,000-ton vessels. That was in the 70s.
Yes.
All right. So let me begin with you. But before I allow you to give us a brief background of, the Black Star Line, which you have done a lot of research about, tell us about the Transport Forum and what you do.
Thank you very much. We thank our viewers for making time to listen to what we have to say about national development. The Transport Forum is a think tank, a group of young people who believe that we need to help shape the shipping, the transport and logistics sector in our country and probably beyond. So it's been, back and forth discussion between myself and my team. So somewhere last year, latter part of the year, we were able to launch the group. And our main objective, basically, is to help shape the transport logistics sector. We believe that shipping is the engine of growth. Transport is the engine of growth. For every economy to develop, you can't take out shipping, neither can you take out transport. So the right application of knowledge in the transport sector definitely will help boost the economy country. That's our passion, that's our desire. That's the Transport Forum.
Great. Okay, so I know, reading, materials online and all that, in the 60s and 70s, the Black Star Line was very, very vibrant, one of the most respected, shipping lines, globally.
Yes.
Tell us if you have any brief background about the Black Star Line.
Like the gentleman rightly put it,
yes.
I don't know whether I have to even go back again, but basically, we had a very vibrant shipping company as a state, not for individuals, as a state.
Yeah.
Way back in 1957, when we gained our independence, the then leadership thought it wise that it is better to have a national shipping line, a carrier that will fare our cargo from port to port and bring in goods, take goods out. So from 57, we set up the Black Star Line. But we need to get something clear. The Black Star Line is not the first of its kind.
Yeah.
Or let me put it this way. The name Black Star Line as a shipping company has first been used or been established by the civil rights God.
Yes.
So, when you usually go on the internet to find information about the Black Star Lines, if you are not a bit specific, it will give you more information about what Marcus Garvey did.
Yes.
So Ghana, more or less, we decided to replicate what Marcus Garvey did to kind of bring a certain belief to the black community that we can do it and we will do it.
Yeah.
So 57, we set up the Black Star Line. Our first vessel sailed from Liverpool in the late, I think November thereabout, and then got to Ghana around December around that same year. Bringing goods.
That was 1957.
Yes.
When we attained independence.
We attained independence. Okay. That should speak to you the kind of vision at the time. Because if we could have a national line then, why not now? But we'll get to that. So that's just a brief history. He said nostalgic because you felt belonged. You see the national flag on our vessels and you know that this is Ghanaian. That kind of patriotism, that kind of love, that kind of commitment, that kind of hunger and desire that let me work for the country was huge because you saw things that could move you to a certain direction to die for the country. One of such was the Black Star Line. Yes.
All right, so Joel Efa and Chi's article titled The Founding of the Black Star Line actually also indicated in some portions that the Black Star Line collapsed as a result of corruption and mismanagement.
Yes. Yes, and he's entirely right. You see, when we manage things anyhow, and when you don't know the value of items or value of things, that is what happens. That's why somehow, some way, we believe that the blindness of the mind is more dangerous than the blindness of the eye.
The blindness of the mind is more dangerous than the blindness
of the eye. If I cannot see physically, but my mind can work, I may be physically blind, but psychologically, mentally, I may be very active. Some of us believe these are some of the things that led to the collapse of the Black Star Lines. And when you look at those issues carefully, even as today, it permeates through virtually all our state institutions. What are some of those things? Lackadaisical attitude, people not responding to duty as they are supposed to. I categorize the problems into two. One, it was about office inefficiencies and then operational inefficiencies. When I say office inefficiencies, what do I mean? How do you hire staffs beyond what you need?
Right.
So you get to a point that the Black Star Lines are people so much in the business or in the company that they were virtually doing nothing, but they were paid.
A drawing salary, yeah.
So you ask yourself, who pushed them? Were they on seeing hands that were operating or managing or pulling people, that were pushing people into areas that they were not supposed to? Because see, the more people you have, it means your expenditure is high. So if your operational expenses is not able to meet up your expenditure, what happens? You make losses. So the revenue coming in is way less than the expenditure they were making. What will happen? They'll collapse. What again? When I say operational inefficiencies, talking about canvassing for cargo, what was the marketing thinking of the company at the time? Because you cannot operate in an island as a shipping company.
Yeah.
So today, most of these big companies, you realize they form some of liner conferences. They form some kind of consortium. So if my vessel gets to, let's say, Singapore, and a partner's cargo is available at Singapore, I don't need to get to, or my partner doesn't need to get to Singapore to take delivery of his cargo. My vessel can pick it, because there's that kind of consortium. Was it done? It wasn't done. So aside these issues of corruption, mismanagement, poor leadership, we believe that management style too was an issue. That if you really want to revive it, you need to discuss these things to details, and trust me, there are solutions and it's viable. We can do it. Yeah.
Mr. Asari, I'll find out from you. You are coming from the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, CILT Ghana. And I just want to find out from you whether you think that it is prudent and viable for the nation to have a national shipping line, so to speak, to revive, as it were, the Black Star Line.
Yes. The question will be a very big yes. Now, any group of people, government, institution, that will attempt to discuss anything relating with shipping will be doing the right thing. I always feel a sickening nostalgia of the days where these 16,000 capacity vessels owned by Ghana berth at the port of Tema. You really see economic activity, the vibrancy of people moving towards a certain goal. And taking some journey back to history, world civilization thrived on shipping. How was America discovered if Columbus had not taken that trip?
That voyage.
Yes. How did we even develop our commerce and trade if the Portuguese did not venture into our coasts on vessel? So the importance of merchant vessel management has started from Adam. And the question is, do we have what it takes? Yes, we have. The free sea coast is there. What is the business of a vessel? Carrying cargo. Do we have the cargo? Yes, we have. And so, do we have the human resources? Yes, we have. So what do we need again? I believe that the former Nautical College, which now metamorphosed to
Regional
Maritime University, was there to train and then build up the human capacity to man these vessels. That institution is still there right now, training all manner of peoples with skills. In fact, we have seasoned professionals who we are now using in other countries. What is more, we could leverage on the African Continental Free Trade Area, which Ghana is now using as a headquarters.
Yes.
So it means that business is going to flow in, investors are going to focus on Ghana, and partnership in areas of maritime development is open. So it is the willpower, the passion to pursue this agenda is what is lacking, and which we have control over, which we can manage to revive. So I see the resurrection of the Black Star Line to be real. What we have to do is to take a paradigm shift from those funny stories that we heard in the past. If vessels are costing $900,000, $44 million to $1.2 billion, if a huge capital investment of this nature can be undertaken, and people, personnel deployed on a vessel can decide to joke, then I think that could be a criminal act. So I think that, yes, we can revive the Black Star Line, but we need a new crop of people whose thinking must be recalibrated. And then government policy tailored towards achieving this specific goal, which will need constant evaluation and target setting for those who will be tasked to execute this important task.
Right. Great, awesome. Let me come to Mr. Ajimine and find out from you. Mr. Asari's submission did indicate that, yes, we have what it takes to come back with a national, shipping line. He mentioned the fact that we have the coast is there. I mean, that's a natural God-given, resource. Sure. He says we have the cargo, we have everything that it takes. Do we really have what it takes?
As in human capacity?
Human capacity, yes.
Yes, I believe so. We do. Take a little moment back. Some years back, we didn't have probably enough or sufficient capacity. But as we speak today, the Maritime University produce students annually.
Absolutely.
In various fields of endeavor when it comes to shipping, being it nautical, being it administration, being it commercial, whatever field. His group, SILT, they train people. They give academies. I'm not here to advertise for anybody, but I'm trying to let you know that in terms of human capacity, both academia and professionals, we do have it. What we need is the political will to allow academia and professionals to run a national shipping line. Now, in terms of cargo, let me give you some data I have here. And we can get it from the 2021 Maritime Review of the Ghana Shippers Authority.
Okay.
It says we have here a summary of Ghana's seaborne trade. Now we look at the total summary for both Takoradi and Tema. We have a total of about 25 in tonnage. 25,429,870 tons of cargo trading through our ports.
Right.
My question is, what portion of this tonnage belongs to Ghana?
Right.
All these tonnage we are talking about are carried by foreign vessels. So if you ask me, do we have what it takes? In terms of human capacity, we do. In terms of cargo volumes, we do.
Okay, so let me, in all of this, is it not prudent that we have the buy-in of the government?
We have the
buy-in.
Absolutely. I mean, these things are capital intensive. So obviously you need the government. Two, it is a policy direction or it is a policy making.
Right.
That is why I speak to politicians, speak to people running for power, for the Transport Forum. We want to hear, we want to see your policy document about the transport sector, about the shipping sector. I think we are tired of rhetorics. We want to see documents. If you want us to believe in your ideologies, in what you proclaim as a political party, and I'm speaking to politicians across board, give us clear direction as to how you intend to revive the Black Star Lines.
Right.
Bring in academia, bring in professionals, and then let them run it. Give them KPIs. Stay back as a politician, because it is these political hands that collapses our businesses. So if you don't run the Black Star Line as an enterprise, but we see it as a political cattle or cow that we're going to milk, it will fail, as it failed. So we need the politicians, yes, but we need them as policy makers, not as policy implementers. Now, in making the policy, you need to involve the right people to give you the direction. So what is your policy about the shipping sector? What is your policy about the transport sector? Zone down. How do you intend to revive the Black Star Line? We want to hear them so that we can also advise positively and make it work. God, it's a fact. We need a politician. You can't do without them.
Right.
But they need to know their limit so that the investment, like my senior colleague said, you can't go and buy a ship over $1 million. Then you come and waste it. No, it can't happen. That's our point.
All right. Let me come to Mr. Asari. We had visionary leaders of this country who came about with the Ghana Airways, for example, the Black Star Line we're talking about, and we managed somehow to run them aground. Now calls arrive for the resuscitation of some of these national assets, which really put Ghana on the map in times past. Now, going forward, if it is agreed that we bring back the national shipping line, the Black Star Line, what kind of business model do you think we should approach this with?
Good. So we can always learn from the success stories of other nations. If you take the Asian giants, Singapore, Malaysia, they have a targeted policy towards shipping. And they are excelling now, running shoulder to shoulder with the West in terms of their GDP and economic growth.
Yeah.
Singapore, it is the port that is making that nation. So we're saying that people get scared when they look at the huge investment in the maritime sector. The government should encourage private entrepreneurs who want to venture into that area. Many African nations might be scared because of the capital involvement that is determined. So I think that, yes, the model should be that we should engage foreign participation. PPP will not be a bad idea. We can take a cue from what happened at MPS in Tema, Bolloré Group with GPHA having some shares, and now MPS is pushing. If you take the Takrady example, I think Abistec managed some arrangement there, and now the Atlantic Terminal is about to take off fully, multi-purpose terminal. We are seeing a Ghanaian entrepreneur venturing into this area, which before was a preserve of the foreigners. The government must encourage individuals and groups like this. If that happens, reviving Black Salmon will not be a problem. We engage. People are interested in that industry. Apart from the gains of the employment issues, it solves a lot of social issues also. The extractive industry, manganese, bauxite, and whatever that is lurking around the Western Enclave is there. The Jubilee field is there. The oil and gas potentials all have to be developed. And then you look at other players in the value chain, the transport sector, the road network, warehouse, storage facilities. These are potential employment areas for our graduates who might not necessarily be looking at the civil service for employment. When you do that, development spread across the nation. So the cluster and the jumbo around Accra, Tema area will also ease.
Right.
And then the rail system also developed through Kumasi to the north. And then we are making use of the water lake transport. So I see Ghana is so blessed in terms of transport that we need deep thinking to execute these policies. So our parliamentarians, those who have oversight responsibility, please, we are appealing to them to sit up.
Right.
Take this Black Salmon Revival as a project. Involve other stakeholders. I have mentioned them. Transport operators have a role to play. Warehouse keepers have a role to play. Ministry of Roads and Highways, they should link the ports with good roads. That also minimize the cost of doing business. The tree crop corporation that is going to develop mango and all tree crops, who is going to cater for this produce? A national line can be used to export them. And then we should also think of not only continental voyage. We are looking at the coast-to-coast West Africa, around the Cape Town area to the Strait of Gibraltar. We can run this Atlantic Ocean and make profit. Then maybe other vessels can use the Suez Canal and venture into the Far East while others go to the Panama area. So that a well-tailored plan is workable and is achievable. We only need the willpower and the passion that will drive this dream.
Right. Okay. Mr. Ajimai, I don't know, draw us a bit, backwards a bit, and I want to use Envy Adobia, if you heard about it.
Come again.
I want to give an example about Envy Adobia, Okay. This was a feeder vessel that was acquired by Stanley Aholu, who is also in the industry. He's a legal practitioner and he's an entrepreneur as well. And this was a feeder vessel that traversed the West African sub-region, picking cargo from one destination to the other and all that. But it was short-lived.
Yeah.
It didn't live long.
Yes.
I mean, he tried something on his own as a Ghanaian.
Yes.
Perhaps on a very small scale. And this didn't work. But we're looking at the broader picture, the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Establishing a national carrier in the shipping industry. How easy do you think this would be?
If I may add a little to what my senior said, probably disagree a little with him.
Right.
When it comes to the PPP agreement,
yes.
I think that's the way to go. My only challenge, or where I disagree with him, is where we may involve foreigners. I'm not against foreign investment,
right?
But I think for the purpose of national pride, we should be able to trust the Ghanaian to be able to do something. So there should be a PPP agreement, being Ghanaian. That's my
only
point.
Ghanaian.
Yes.
Only Ghanaian.
Government can own a portion, then other Ghanaian investors can own a portion. I don't subscribe to the idea of BOT, build, operate, and transfer, because in most of those agreements, it doesn't favor Ghanaians. So the Ghanaians that are supposed to acquire technical knowledge and skills will end up not getting it. And then the contract is over, then we need to extend it because they've not gotten the required expertise.
Yes.
So that is my little challenge. But I think the PPP should be the way to go. And the terms should be transparent. It should be more favorable to the Ghanaian. That's my point about that. Now, coming back to the issue of somebody tried to do it.
Exactly, yes.
When we were off camera, I was speaking to my senior. And then he told me jokingly that I can see you have a lot of interest in Ethiopia. That's what he told me. And I said, yes, I have a lot of interest in Ethiopia because I think it's a model for shipping company, national or state shipping company. When you got to Ethiopia in 1964, that's when they started their operation. As you speak today, they have well over 400 vessels. Wow. Ethiopia. Wow. You go online, you see it. They have over 300 cargo vessels. They have about 84 or more oil vessels. How did Ethiopia do it? Transparency, commitment, government support. So if you want to do it, it's not really about, the capital,
Yeah, it's capital intensive, yeah.
Yes, it is. Everybody agrees. But it is political commitment. By this statement, I don't intend to denigrate or to pull down any government policy. But if you implement policies that by itself do not generate revenue, its sustainability is a problem. So if you have policies that can generate revenue, it can help support certain social policies every government will choose to espouse. So that sustaining those social policies will be possible. I don't intend to mention names, but I think per knowledge, people know what I'm talking about. So we need the Black Star Lines because it is viable.
Right.
It is viable because Cocoa Board, as we speak, on a yearly basis, spends about $300 million on transportation of cocoa beans from Ghana to other parts of the world. The question is, what are the vessels that transport the cocoa beans? Are they Ghanaian-owned vessels or they are foreign-owned vessels? The data I gave you tells you, if you go further, it tells you we had, only in 2021, we had about 1.4 million containers coming in and going out of Ghana, carried by foreign vessels. What is the share of Ghana? Our bauxite, our timber,
manganese.
Our manganese. Mention them. We are coming up with this sino-hydro project. Huge aluminium extracting industry. What are the vessels going to do the transportation? Yes, it's capital intensive, but I believe this is a project that can also take care of itself if efficiency in operation, efficiency in management is done. So the issue of it being capital intensive, for me, I don't think it should be a problem at all. That's my.
Now, Mr. Asari, you did indicate the fact that yes, we have trained a lot of professionals in the maritime industry who can take up the mantle when need be and when it is agreed that there should be a national shipping carrier once again. And you did mention also the fact that most of these professionals are in other nations, working for their governments and all that. Do you think that we're making the most out of our professionals who are trained in this country and elsewhere, in the maritime industry?
I don't think so. A lot needed to be tapped from them. This professional alone can market Ghana and then can earn a lot of foreign exchange for us. Question is, now that we have trained them and they are out there helping other nations, what do we gain? It's zero. And how do we get them? There must be an institution, a conscious effort to get them together and then give that assurance that they take care of them and then we take the best out of them. Look, we could get the vessel. I earlier on mentioned about coordination and engaging other principal actors in the logistics value chain. If you put a vessel there and assuming we have revived Black Star Line, they have all 4 or 5, whatever vessels, and then your vessel is at the port, and then you fold your arms, you sit in the vessel, and expect that cargo will flow, you stow on board and sail. You have missed it.
Right.
The cargo must come from a point. It must be in storage at a point. It must be conveyed to the vessel in a form of transportation, trucks. Who coordinates these activities to ensure timely execution of the task?
Right.
That has been lacking, and it led to the collapse of the Black Star Line.
Okay, that's one of the factors that culminated in the...
Yes.
Okay.
And it cut across most of state institutions. We can use the lessons of the Black Star Line to address a whole lot of lapses in other areas. So I'm saying that stakeholders should be involved. If you take cocoa, for instance, the projected tonnage for 2022-23, 750,000 metric tons. Cashew is also catching the market. As 137 metric tons was exported. We are talking about coconut, talking about Brazil nut, and then the tree crops. Ghana Rubber Estate Limited, they have their quota there. All these produce are going through foreign vessels. And so the monies that should have stabilized the city is not there. These things can reduce the continual tax that the normal people will always have to be taken care of. So the maritime industry is there. We can leverage on that with deep thinking and proper policy analysis to take care of a whole lot of things. We may not be increasing taxes all the time. We give less work to the finance minister. So I'm saying that our politicians, the technocrats, all the engineers, and all those who matter must come together. This must be a clarion call.
Right.
We should take the rest of the year to seriously think about this particular subject. It solves a lot of our problems. We normally think the solution is so huge and you need all sort of scientists to do something. No.
But it's not rocket science.
At all. So that if Minister for Roads and Highways knows that he must link the ports with good roads, if warehouses will have to be constructed at strategic positions which may transfer to the ports and the corridor of transfer is neat, we will do a whole lot of things. We have the transit countries over there, Niger, Mali, and wherever.
Burkina Faso, yeah.
What Ghana has advantage of is its peaceful nature. The country is peaceful for business. The hula baloo and the disturbances in the neighboring countries has no place in Ghana. So it's a good business environment.
Right.
And now that the African Continental Trade, I become mentioning, is being headquartered in Ghana, we should take advantage of that. A lot of investors are flowing in, looking at areas where they can put in their money. So the whites will also run down here and invest, and then our money will stay.
Right.
So I'm of the view that yes, the blast, it is viable, it's economically viable, politically viable, commercially viable.
Right.
We should think about it strongly, and the new blast line should engage professionals, logistics and transport. The forum my brother is running.
Yes, the transport forum.
The transport forum. Institutions like GUTA, like the Awingo Beach Import Association, these are think tanks in disguise who knows the marketplace. And then we involve them, and then we chart a common course. Then we can succeed.
Right.
If we behave like islands, no. Coordination is the key word.
Right. Great. Okay, so he made mention of the fact that lack of proper coordination of activities in the chain also culminated in the demise, so to speak, of the Black Star Line. Yes. Do you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, you speak to, some of us are young, so we did not experience the Black Star Lines as in person, but he did. I've spoken to quite a number of people who experienced the Black Star Lines. And then vessel berth at Takoradi or Tema, you have the master or the captain, the mate, virtually they are in town. And then the vessel is at the port. And the longer you stay at the port, you know, because something ship turnaround time, the longer you stay at the port, the more you pay. So every vessel, the moment they get to the port, the activities, they calculate it to ensure that they leave as early as possible. So if you have master, the mate, the other staff in town, chilling, having fun, the vessel is not working as supposed to, who supervises them?
Right.
In that chain, who supervises who to work? So absolutely I agree. Okay. And it was one of the reasons that caused the downfall of the Black Star Lines. He also made a point about stability of our currency. Yes. Let's just strike a simple calculation. 2021, number of TUs, that's containers, that came in was about 1.2, only for Tema Port.
1.2 million.
1.2 million containers. Let's assume it is 1 million containers. This is an assumption, the lowest mark. You multiply 1 million containers by an average freight of, let's say, $1,500. Let's do that calculation. If half of that money, because we have other shipping lines, so we are not going to say that the Black Star Line is going to, you know, kill other shipping lines or take them out of business. No. The Black Star Line is going to take its due part. So let's assume that that amount, the Black Star Line is having, let's say, a half of that. That money stays in Ghana.
Right.
It has the ability to stabilize our currency.
Absolutely.
So for the finance minister, I think it should be a duty call on him that, look, let me see to the revival of the Black Star Line. It may not happen, or it may not give him that relief in his period, but in years to come, it will give the nation that relief. So that at least we can have a cushioned currency. I think that's something we need to work towards.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is Iron Port here on Metropolitan Television, and tonight we are asking the simple question whether it is feasible for the country to revive the collapsed Black Star Line. That's a national shipping line. And with me in the studios, Mr. Jacob Ajiman, who is the convener of the Transport Forum, is a think tank in the shipping and transport industry. And indeed, Mr. Ephraim Masari, who is the Vice President of the Chartered Institute of Transport and Logistics, SILT, Ghana, in charge of maritime. We are going for a quick break. When we return, we'll continue the discussion. Please do stay with us.
Every now and again, Goil makes good things happen. This time, Goil has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Goil Super XP Ron 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Goil Super XP Ron 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Goil Super XP Ron 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with Goil Super XP Ron 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goil has